Hey guys, what is going on? Like a man 123 are back with another video and welcome to another episode of Tea Making. And in today's episode, I'll be ranking my favorite LEGO Ninjago Elemental Powers. So, without further ado, let's get into it. As I did say at the start of the video, I'll be ranking my favorite Elemental Power. Now, down the bottom here, you can see there's a few to go through and rank, so this might be a bit more of a longer episode, but I'm still really excited to rank these. Starting it off, we have the elemental power of smoke. Now, I really like the idea of, like, you could disappear for a few seconds so your enemy can't, like, hit you with their power or, like do some sort of ninja move on you, so I think that is really useful. But there's also some negative things about it, because, like, your enemy could possibly get through you, because as you're doing the smoke, like, your enemy can quickly move through you because you're in that sort of stage of picking somewhere to land. So there is some bad things about it, but it is a really useful element, like versing enemies, because if you're about to get punched, you can quickly disappear and then reappear behind them and then attack them. So I'd possibly give that an A. Then we have the elemental power of, like, sound and, like, sort of vibration. Now, I think it's a very useless sort of power, because if your enemy can sneak up on you and you can't actually hear them, then they're gonna easily, like, not kill you, but, like, maybe, like, punch you out and all that type of stuff. So it's a really nice power because you can hear all the sounds and all that, but in battle, it's not really too useful. I'd possibly give that a C. And then we have sort of nature element. Now, I really like that elemental power. I think it's very useful in battle because, like, you control all of sort of nature and its plans to attack the enemy, because there is a lot of nature out in the world, especially in Ninjago. So possibly an A. Then we have the elemental power of Earth. Now, I think this fits Cole's character very well, and I think he does use it very wisely and very good. So possibly maybe A as well. And then we have the elemental power of destruction. Now, I believe Garmadon only got this power once he came out of wherever he was from the world in Season 8, Sons of Garmadon. I believe he only got that power once he came out of that sort of realm, but I'm not too sure. And I think it's a really nice power because, like, he can make sort of stone giants, he can control different sort of stuff, so it's really nice power. It's also very useful and very powerful sort of element, so possibly maybe another A and move it up to 3rd position. Then we have the elemental power of sort of levitation and, like, gravity. Now, that is a very useful power when versing enemies, because, like, you can float up and then your enemy can be on the ground. You can also, like, not run away from them, but, like, have, no pun intended, but the high ground on them. So I think it's a really nice power and also very useful in battle. So possibly, maybe a B. It's not as good as Earth in my opinion, but it's also a very useful element. Then we have the element of fire. Now, I really like this element, and I think it does fit Kai very well because of his temper and all that. It's also very useful in battle when you're versing enemies, like you can throw fireballs at them, you can do spinjitzu. So possibly maybe a B, but in 2nd position, because I think levitation and, like, gravity is a lot more powerful in battle, because, like, you can have the odds on your side. But then with fire, it can be also really bad because you may, like, sort of lose control of it. It also doesn't help when you're, like, versing enemies what have a weakness not to fire, if that does make sense. Then we have the element of, like, sort of energy and, like, balance. So I think this is a really nice power, and I like how Lloyd does use it. So, possibly maybe, like, maybe there, right next to Garmadon. And then we have Zane. Now, I really like his power, sort of ice and all that type of stuff. But I'm quite curious to see if, like, he can do sort of water, because that is just a liquid version of ice, but I'm not too sure. Possibly maybe 3rd position in B, because I think it is a bit more of a better power than maybe 2nd position. Yeah, I think that works a lot more better, because it's a lot more powerful than fire because like you could do sort of shields with it, like you can use it as defense, but with fire you can't really do that because you can probably make sort of a circle with the fire, but people can easily get through that like with ice and all that type of stuff. So fire is more like the attack and sort of ice is more the defense, so that is why it's a bit more higher. Then we have invisibility. Now that is a really nice elemental power, very useful in battle because like you can disappear, not really disappear, but like go invisible where no one's gonna know where you are. But the downside is if someone like shoots you with maybe like ice, they can easily see you because like you're coming out of that sort of invisibility sort of stage. So it's useful when your enemies don't really have that power to like show you where you are, or like if they sort of not paralyze you, but like struck you with say maybe energy, then you might go out of that stage. So it's useful in a way that if you don't get hit, it can be very useful. So possibly maybe 4th position in B. Now we have lightning. Now I really like this power and I think it definitely does fit Jay very well. But you never really see him like control the weather because I think you could possibly do that because of Jay being the elemental master of like lightning. So he could maybe like possibly bring up like lightning storms and all that, but you really don't see that. So it's also a very useful power because like you can struck your enemies with it, like it can also like hurt them very well. So possibly maybe it's a bit more better than fire because you can use it for both defense and attack because like you can have sort of a electric shock sort of defense. So I think that's really cool. Then we have sort of I've actually forgotten what this power was. I think it's like sort of steel, like he can absorb sort of a steel and like grow these massive sort of hammer hand things. So it's a really nice power because like you can smash through walls, smash your enemies. But if you're in a place where there's like no steel, wait, hold on, I think like if he smashes his hands together, like he grows big hands. So completely my mistake there. So it's a very useful power. I like how he can just do that very simply, but I might be wrong with this whole thing, but I actually can't remember. But I really like his power, like how he completely turns grey. So possibly maybe 2nd position in C. And then we have Moro. I believe his power was wind, but I actually can't remember. I really like the power of wind because it's actually a very useful, because like you can blow your enemies away, like just disappear like that from the wind. So it's a very powerful element, also very useful because could you like make tornadoes with that? Not too sure. Like could you do tsunamis? But I think that's more of like the water side. So I think you can possibly just like have the wind on your side, like make huge windstorms and all that type of thing. So it's very useful. So maybe 1st position in B. Then we have the, I believe, mind controlling sort of power. Now that is a really useful power because like you can just mind control the person to do what you want and like say what. No, I don't think it's I think it's mind reading. I actually cannot remember. Sorry about this, guys. I believe he can mind read people, so that is a really useful power because like I think he just has to touch you and like he can just see what you're thinking of and like what you're about to do. So that is very useful. But there's only one problem. Say if your enemy and you are fighting and you can't actually get close to him to touch him, then that's pretty pointless because he does read the mind. So it's very hard for him to touch someone to read their mind if they're fighting you. So you could possibly only do it when they're out of sort of focus and they're not sort of concentrating. So I'd possibly give that 1st position in C because it's a very useful power, but there's a lot to do to make sure you can actually do that power. Then we have Scarlet. Now she has a really, this is a lot of reallys, good power. Her power can be, she could just touch anyone and she has that power just straight away. With no consequences, she just does it. So that is really useful in battle because like, say if you're next to, say, the invisible person, you can just touch him and then you'll be invisible. I'm also very curious to see if she touches everyone, does she have all that power? Or is that too much for her? Because if she absorbs everyone's power on this list, does she become too powerful that she can't control it? So that is a really nice question. But she does have a really useful power. But then, maybe sometimes if she has maybe one or two powers and she can't control it, will she maybe like explode because of the power? Will she maybe like get knocked out because it's too much to handle? So there's a lot for her to have with this responsibility. So possibly second position in A because it's a very useful power. And then we have the Time Twins. Now I think they have a really nice power because like they're pretty much unbeatable with it because like they can travel forward, back, they can reverse time, they can stop time. So in the battlefield they were just unstoppable. But there was only one thing stopping him, and I think it was like the Chrono Steel. So if you absorb power with that, then they're completely gone. But with the power of these twins, pretty much unstoppable on the battlefield. And I think they do a really nice job of it working together. So possibly first position with... Nope. First position... Man, smoke. There we go. First position in A. Then I actually can't remember her power. Is it like something to do with like toxic and all, like toxins and all that? I believe so. But I actually cannot remember, so sorry about that. Her power, if I'm remembering correctly, she can like shoot sort of toxic fumes out of her mouth or like just shoot it out of her hand. So a very useful power. It's also a very good defense and attack sort of power because like you can just shoot sort of or like spray out heaps of different toxic fumes and like in this sort of circle and you're just safe there. So very useful. But I actually cannot remember if that is her power. So possibly maybe that position in B because it can have its downfalls because you might accidentally like have it yourself, so you might die from that. But I'm not actually too sure, so I might actually move her up to third position because, as I did say, it's a very useful power while you're battling enemies. Then we have water. Now, I think Nia does this very well for her elemental power, as with the other ninjas and also the other characters in the Ninjago universe. They control their powers very well, and I don't think any other characters could do that with their powers except for Scarlet. So with water, she can also control sort of ice, I believe, because that is just a sort of liquid, though that is just a solid version of water, but I'm not too keen on saying that because I'm not 100% sure. Her power is very useful because like she can have sort of a massive amount of water shooting at you, but then they did ruin it in, I believe, Season 11, the fire chapter, where she has to get her water from places what have water, like a fire hydrant, sort of a river. So it's quite annoying that they did come up with that because the rest of the ninjas don't need to have a sort of access point to access their element. They just have it with them. So it's a shame that Nia has to do that, but her power is very useful. So possibly, maybe, it's just starting to get really hard. Maybe first position in C. Then we have the final one, and I believe her power is like disguising herself as other people, I believe. So that can be a very useful power, like you can transform yourself into someone else and easily sort of do that. But I'm quite curious, if you transform into, say, Garmadon, do you like get all his abilities? Do you like get his power and all that? I actually can't remember if she does do that. But her power is very useful nonetheless because like you could just transform into anyone and sort of have the voice of them, I believe. Yeah, I have to rewatch Ninjago. So possibly, maybe second position in C. No, B. So I thought I would just quickly come back here and do some changes. So I might move Scarlet into second position because Smoke, as I did say, it can be quite useless. Like as you're disappearing, like an enemy can pass through you, and then as you reappear, like knock you out or something. So it does have its downfalls, and maybe move Garmadon up a bit more. And then maybe have the sort of nature element maybe in last position. Yeah, I think that's a lot more better. And then with wind, maybe leave it there for sure, and then maybe move up Zane because he can use it for both, for like defense and attack. And then for Jay, maybe possibly leave him there. And then maybe move the. No, I think he's in a good position. Maybe move Nia into B, and then maybe move Karloff. Is that how you say it? Karloff? I might leave him there, and I think that's good. So if you guys did enjoy these videos, I did sharing my thoughts and opinions on the different elemental powers. I would love to hear your thoughts on the different elemental powers down in the comments below. While doing this video, I did realize I should probably rewatch Season 4 of Ninjago because with some of the elemental powers, I did forget on what they were and what they actually did. So that was my mistake. But as always, guys, hope you guys did enjoy this video. And I can say so goodbye.